You watched him grip the dealership keys like they were royal scepters, fresh from our father's will, fresh from our bloodline's legacy, and he didn't even blink when he told you to pack up your office. He fired you the morning after the funeral, his voice low, his breath still smelling of whiskey from the night he toasted your erasure with your former assistant. You nodded once, handed him your lanyard, and walked away without a word. Because silence is the loudest warning. A man like him never hears. He thought your exit was defeat. He thought the burn in your stare was grief, not ignition. He didn't know that the folder marked Inheritance Diversions 2009-2023 was already in your encrypted drive, downloaded the night your father died, when the boardroom lights flickered like they knew what was coming. The dealership was just a shell, you realized, by the time your brother claimed the throne. It wasn't about selling cars anymore. It was about laundering the loyalty of old vendors, inflating invoices, and disappearing quarterly millions behind the fog of shell companies in Panama. You knew because you'd helped build the walls he now hollowed out. You knew because you'd helped install the first surveillance system, one he never thought to upgrade. He didn't see you leave with a calm face and a pocket drive labeled Client Registry AK, clean. He didn't know that. Clean meant both original and forged versions. You'd always played the game at a deeper level than he understood. You weren't just the COO. You were the architect of the Empire's hidden veins, and now its quiet surgeon. The signal came through from Zurich the same day he changed the signage to read Ravner Motors Group. You'd called in the third favor. The auditor would come masked as a casual buyer, equipped with a briefcase of questions no legitimate owner could answer. Not without cracking. He gave interviews. He smiled for the cameras. He told the city he was proud to carry on your father's legacy. But the files you copied the night of the memorial, when he was busy shaking hands with investors who once spat your name, carried the real story. Vendor kickbacks, insurance scams, off-the-book trades, unfiled employee terminations, linked to hush settlements. They thought your exit was the end, but you knew how to hollow a house from the inside, one beam at a time. While he hung plaques on walls you once paid for, you installed ghosts behind his glass. You rented a warehouse 5 miles east, anonymous and low profile, painted black inside and out. There, you built your new headquarters, just one desk, a series of screens, and a wall of timelines mapped with precision. His habits, contacts, passwords, every shift in his tone of voice when talking to offshore firms. You watched as he grew bolder, crueler, sloppier. He thought he was king, but kings who don't check the throne's foundation are the easiest to bury. The inheritance he stole from you wasn't just monetary, it was personal. He turned father's last breath into leverage. He pretended grief when the cameras were on, then fired the staff who'd served our family for 3 decades. You listened to their stories. You took their statements. You built your testimony from their rage. The backroom mechanic, the accountant he refused to pay severance, the secretary whose silence he purchased with fear. They all became part of your web. Not witnesses. Weapons. The signal came through. Again, this time from Manila. The shell account moved. The fake dealership registered in your name, just as planned, sent a thank you email to one of his corporate buyers. He never saw it. But his IP was logged clicking the message. One breadcrumb in a trail of fire. You walked past the showroom one last time before the storm. The glass reflected your silhouette like it remembered you. Inside he posed with a foreign investor, grinning beside a limited edition sports car. You once negotiated for 1/10 of the price. You didn't wave, you didn't stop, because the next time he looked into glass, it would shatter. They thought you'd moved on, vanished into some consulting job in another city. nursing your pride like a man licking wounds. What they didn't see was the van. You parked 3 blocks down, its antenna rigged to intercept internal comms. The silent eyes you embedded in the executive conference room wall clock. The access points you left behind in your final server backup. You hadn't moved on, you'd moved underneath. Your brother expanded quickly, too quickly, fueled by debt disguised as momentum. You watched from a digital perch as he looped in new partners, venture capitalists with teeth and agendas, and began feeding them doctored forecasts. He inflated the Q2 projections by 41%, then used that projection to secure a second warehouse under the company's name, one that never made it to the official inventory list. You knew because he used the same metadata template you'd written 5 years earlier. He hadn't even bothered to change the naming protocol. Every move he made echoed your past footprints, like a man building a skyscraper over a grave. He was confident, careless, emboldened by praise that was purchased, not earned. The signal came through from the eastern servers. One of your wiretaps picked up a late-night call to a fixer in Dubai. Your brother was selling dealership data. Under the table, client IDs, vehicle histories, addresses, high-value clients, some of them in witness protection. It wasn't just corporate crime anymore. He was dipping into something volatile. You recorded the call. You transcribed every pause, every stutter. The fixer warned him about the silent one, said he was always watching. Your brother laughed. He's gone. I buried him the day I changed the locks. But locks are nothing when the doors are wired to remember you. They thought silence meant surrender. But you were studying, learning his patterns, syncing his new assistant's schedule to your internal network, tagging every transaction that showed signs of internal laundering. The cleaner the ledger, the dirtier the hands behind it. And your brother had been scrubbing hard. He began courting foreign investors with falsified growth models. The PR firm you once hired to elevate the family brand now spun lies under his command. They thought they were securing global deals. But the proposal he sent to the Tokyo board? It wasn't the one you intercepted. That one, carefully edited, filled with falsities, was already forwarded to the FSA under a ghost identity created 3 months earlier. The assistant he slept with every Thursday sent you screenshots by Sunday. She thought you were some whistleblower from a regulatory firm. You never corrected her. Her rage became your access. Her betrayal mirrored your own. You were building a file, not just of numbers, but of character. Every employee he screwed, every contract he voided for personal gain, every loyalty he bought then discarded. The walls of your warehouse glowed with digital threads, a web of sins waiting to combust. He moved into your father's office. He had the rug replaced. The same rug under which the first ledger was buried in 2010. You smiled when the contractors unearthed it and thought it trash. You watched them burn it, but you already had the copy. You'd taken it the night Dad told you never to trust the blood that smiles during funerals. He made your silence a weapon and assumed it was his. But silence, in your hands, was a wire. Thin, precise, and deadly. You fed false hope into his circle, staged fake competitors, flooded the market with shadow buyers that drove his prices just high enough to expose his margin fraud. The board began to notice cracks. 2 longtime executives resigned quietly. One cited a moral fog. Another vanished to Peru. They thought it was burnout. You knew better. You'd shown them everything, one ghost email at a time. Your brother called for an internal audit, a performance, nothing more. But the man he hired to lead it used to work for you. His loyalty wasn't bought. It was owed. And you'd called in that debt the moment your father's watch stopped ticking. The cameras you planted in the R&D lab caught more than secrets. They caught the toasts, the betrayals, The night he poured champagne on the same table where you and your father once drafted expansion plans. "We made it," he said. He was always just the dry run. They thought the past was buried, but you'd wired the ground. The signal came through again. This time, it wasn't data. It was a whispered name during a boardroom meeting, a silent look from one director to another. Your name. A flicker. A shadow. A ghost in their confidence. And suddenly, his voice